If you send John and the Reverend to Washington, those $2,000 checks will go out the door.
We will be able to pass $2,000 stimulus checks for the people next week.
We'll deliver the $2,000 stimulus checks.
And that begins with the $2,000 stimulus.
When you send me and Reverend Warnock to the Senate, we will pass those $2,000 stimulus checks. You send me and Reverend Warnock to the Senate, we will pass those $2,000 stimulus checks.
They will make decisions about whether we give people a $2,000 check.
We need to pass $2,000 stimulus checks for the people.
For getting people that $2,000 in relief, direct payment.
Congress should pass $2,000 checks. President-elect Biden and Democrats are all pushing for $2,000 relief checks.
$2,000 stimulus checks.
$2,000 relief checks.
$2,000 relief checks. They should send $2,000 checks to the American people right now.
Supporting $2,000 relief payments right now.
We need to be passing the $2,000 stimulus relief checks.
That means we need John Ossoff and Raphael Warnock, who will go to D.C. to ensure the $2,000 checks.
You see ads that say, want your $2,000 stimulus check? Vote Democrat. Vote for Warnock.
The stimulus check. Chuck Schumer is trying to increase it to $2,000.
Well, I actually have a bill for that.
One of the first things that I want to do when our new senators are seated is deliver the $2,000 checks to the American families.
And the debate over $2,000 isn't some abstract debate.
$2,000 checks, so kind of actually $1,400 checks.
By electing John and the Reverend, we'll put an end to the block in Washington on that $2,000 stimulus check.
10 moderate Republicans want a seat at the table to pitch a slimmed-down relief proposal.
That money that will go out the door immediately.
What they might be willing to do is negotiate on those stimulus checks.
How can you assure Americans that relief will come and come soon?
Have you ever known anyone in the history of the United States of America that could be president and assure exactly what the Congress is going to do? That money that will go out the door immediately. And that's not hyperbole, that's real.
He walked out in the gray light and stood, and he saw for a brief moment the absolute truth of the world. The cold, relentless circling of the intestate earth. Darkness implacable. The blind dogs of the sun in their running. The crushing black vacuum of the universe. And somewhere 200 animals trembling like ground foxes in their cover. Borrowed time and borrowed world and borrowed eyes with which to sorrow it.
And lo, for the earth was empty of form, and void, and darkness was all over the face of the deep, and we said, look at that fucker dance.
Welcome to the Life Podcast, where we give you the updates on how to live a productive life. Today on the Life Podcast, we will tell you 5 exercises to shred fat. We hope you enjoy shredding fat. The first exercise involves a paring knife. You're going to love it. Get your paring knives.
Step 2, go to Myanmar. Step 3, find a coup d'etat. Step 4, start doing very happy, energized aerobics in front of said coup d'etat. Step 5, cut off your fat with the paring knife.
You got them all, man.
So, yeah, welcome to that. Of the universe. Hard time stamp. It's 2/2/2021. Yesterday was like a palindrome day. Did you know that?
What's a palindrome day? I'm dumb.
Well, like a palindrome is like the word, like a number or a word that's the same forwards and backwards.
Oh no, I didn't know that at all. Well, no, I did know that about a palindrome, but I didn't know that yesterday was a palindrome day.
Wait, wasn't it? So yeah, 1, 2, 0, 2, 1, 2. No, wait, no, it wasn't. Where did I see something like? Maybe if you do it in like the European style. Fuck. Anyway, David Lynch was supposed to make some big announcement yesterday, and I still haven't found out what it was. And it was probably just like a trolling thing, because I feel like I would have seen other news if it was actually big. But like this Lynch like fan thing was like all anticipating it, and then they pointed out something eerie or like special about the numbers of February 1st, 2021.
New Twin Peaks is coming.
No, it would.
It's not New Twin Peaks.
That's what people were guessing. They're like, season 4. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, off to a weird start. We've got many news items today. All a little bit different, which is good. You don't want one long same news article, right?
Oh, I don't.
So some updates on some things we've covered in the past. First is the whistleblower about the COVID numbers in Florida, who we talked about before. Rebekah Jones. She appears to be in jail, but it's also unknown where she is at the moment, which is kind of creepy. Since we last talked about her, she did turn herself in to the authorities. Actually, that just happened like a little over a week ago. I mean, how would you like kind of quickly summarize what her situation was? Why, like, you know, the cops literally kicked in her door and scared the shit out of her family. All for what?
Well, she had worked for, she was in Florida, and she worked for one of the government agencies that gave out or distributed coronavirus information, and they were suppressing information. She ended up being asked to leave because I think she was vocally saying, hey, we're killing people by suppressing information, and they didn't cut off her access to the database. So she logged in and started providing the information on a secondary website because she thought it was fucked that they were suppressing the information. The Florida government got whiff of it, and they sent an army of Florida men to arrest her. Only half the Florida men made it because the other half decided they needed to fight alligators on the way. And arrest her they did because no one wants to spook out the tourists in Florida, because that's how Florida makes all their money, and she was spooking them by convincing them they might get coronavirus.
Well, and the governor was like really, really strong, like all of our fucking stupid governors. But I mean, especially, him maybe more than others, was really pushing for reopening everything, which they had basically already done anyway. I'm so sick about hearing about this. Let's open things up. Like, things were never fucking shut down in the United States. Not really. Anyway, sorry, as a side point, but I think this arrest honestly probably came straight down from the governor, if I had to just make a wild guess.
Yeah, I think so too. And they just found well, she's a computer hacker. She's not really a computer hacker. She's just providing information. So I guess she's a whistleblower.
Well, and she
was labeled her as.
She was specifically targeting the governor, Ron DeSantis, the fucking creature from the Black Lagoon that he is.
I called someone a ghoul. I never do that.
I was about to say ghoul, and I changed it to creature from the Black Lagoon. I don't know if that's any better. We got to get more creative with these insults, but yeah. So yeah, I mean that's a good summary. Like she was requested or told to manipulate data. In other words, like to make it just basically to say that like way less people have like the infection rate is much lower than it really was, and she lost her job over refusing to do that. Then she ended up sorry, I'm looking at two different articles about this here. So after she was fired, she created a group called Florida COVID Action and the COVID Monitor. And it was like a database for tracking the COVID-19 infections and deaths in Florida, and in the elementary schools across the United States.
Yeah.
And well, here's an aside that looking at both an NPR article and a World Socialist website article, which are funny to kind of have side by side. So in the World Socialist article, there's a little, they have to get a dig in on the DSA and the Democratic Party. They mentioned that neither has said anything about this.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything about her from the Democratic Party, who you would think following science would be like, hey, she's a hero. Why is she arrested?
Yeah.
But, bipartisanism, they don't want to like usurp the Republican authority in this situation.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't surprise me at all that the Democratic Party doesn't say anything, but like a group like the DSA having nothing to say about it. I don't know if maybe Jacobins covered it. I haven't seen it personally, but
I haven't looked. Maybe they covered it when it was happening.
Yeah, maybe. It's not been a huge story though. Like, and it seems like we've talked about how there's like these various rifts within the left, and like it seems to be the people that are more on the free speech, force the vote side of things are the ones taking up this like free Rebekah Jones, the whistleblower thing, which it sucks that not everybody can just be on board with this. But I mean, I guess
everyone should.
They should be. And I mean, maybe it's not like an intentional thing, like on the DSA's part, for example, but at the same time, like, how much news are they really covering? I don't know. In any case, that's a total side tangent. The bigger point is that this woman, Rebekah Jones, did nothing wrong really at all. Like what she's being charged with is like, it's technically a felony. But it's basically the same way that like, Snowden wouldn't be a good example, but like Daniel Hale, who we've talked about, like his entire, actually it's even lesser than what he did, but they pin these like what seem like sort of small offenses on these people, and then they can end up serving like 50 years in jail for, like taking a couple papers, or in her case, she like supposedly took some information from this state-run website that they just didn't bother to shut her access out to when they fired her. At least that's the way I understood it. I think that's right.
That's kind of how I understood it too.
Here, just reading from the NPR article, according to Jones, so this is according to her, so keep that in mind, I guess, but Florida investigators, quote, found no evidence related to the incident that officials said had triggered the raid, which was a chat message that was sent to a planning group on an emergency alert platform, urging people to speak out publicly about Florida's coronavirus strategies. She wrote on Twitter on Saturday, police did find documents I received or downloaded from sources in the state or something of that nature. The arrest warrant alleges that Jones gained unauthorized access to state health department software on November 10th and sent a mass text to employees reading it's time to speak up before another 17,000 people are dead. You know this is wrong. You don't have to be a part of this. Be a hero. Speak out before it's too late. It said that the message caused, quote, doubt and confusion among the working groups that shared the planning account and prompted information technology personnel to divert their attention to addressing a possible cyber attack.
Of course.
A cyber attack? Come on. I know before I cyber attack someone, I urge them to speak out about justice.
I mean, this lady's obviously going to cause a cyber attack. She's a hacker.
That's the other thing is she didn't hack anything. She just they forgot to like revoke her digital access. Yeah. Listen to this, man. They're like the big deal that they're trying to pin on her is, all told, the warrant said some 30 employees had to stop their regular duties in order to address the incident. So people had to like figure out what was going on with this email, which interrupted their all important duties. So therefore, she should be charged with a felony.
Yeah, seems about right. I realize that doesn't actually seem about right, but
yeah, I mean, these seem like misdemeanors at best. So the other charge is that she downloaded health department data that had contact information for like 19,000 some people in Florida. She downloaded it to her own devices. And so then she turned herself in after all of this. She wrote to protect my family from continued police violence and show that I'm ready to fight whatever they throw at me. I'm turning myself into police in Florida Sunday night. The governor will not win his war on science and free speech. He will not silence those who speak out. So she's facing a 3rd-degree felony charge. She's scheduled to appear virtually before a judge in a live-streamed hearing on Monday morning, which I guess would have already happened by now. This came out, like a week ago. The judge set her bond at $2,500. Okay, at least that's not like exorbitant, I guess. Count your blessings. Conditional on her having no contact with any of the people whose personal information was allegedly downloaded and no contact through state of Florida computer systems. He ruled against GPS monitoring and a ban on internet access, which the state had requested. I guess that's also good. I mean, it is, but she shouldn't even be in this situation, but
yeah, I don't understand. Like, what she was doing was a service. Like, literally, she went out of her way to try to help people. And sure, Maybe she illegally accessed the information, but shouldn't it be illegal to be keeping this type of information fucking closed off from the public?
That's the bigger thing. That's what I hate about every fucking whistleblower type story, every leak type story. People focus on the technical offenses of leaking the information and then totally ignore what the information was. Like the fucking emails, during this 2016 election, or Daniel Hale, for that matter, or whatever, Julian Assange, Snowden, and then all the way down to lesser known cases. But it's it just completely obscures. Well, doesn't it matter what they were trying to get out? They weren't trying to sabotage anybody. They're literally looking out for the public interest.
Yeah.
And exposing the fact that there's fraud going on that will kill people and has arguably already has. People in Florida have definitely died because of this kind of cooking of the books in Florida. I'm sure of it. So I guess it does appear that she's out on bail. I mean, it doesn't say that exactly, but if the bond was issued for $2,000, I'm sure she probably managed to pay it and get out. So I guess that's the reason why people don't seem to know where she is either. She's not on house arrest or anything. I mean, it looks like she wants to fight this in court to get the information on the record, I guess. So I guess that's the update about Rebekah
I hope she can win
Jones.
in court. I don't know if she can, to be honest, but I hope she can.
I mean, you got to think about who's going to be prosecuting her. The fucking
who is the
state
prosecutor right now?
The state of, well, I'm saying just the state of Florida, and who is she in a battle with? The state of Florida.
Oh, good point.
So
I mean,
they're going to go after her hard, I'm sure.
But maybe the prosecutor will be fair.
Sure.
I'm sure that he doesn't have anyone any higher up saying, "Hey, do you like the job?"
Actually, I was kind of saying, the judge is being semi-reasonable. I could totally see another judge being put an ankle bracelet on her and don't let her access the internet and set the bond at $2 million, But because judges can basically do whatever the fuck they want. So I don't know. We'll see how it plays out, I guess. Shall we move on to the other update?
Should we go to protest in India, where they're protesting farm foods?
Let's go from Florida to India.
So in India, can you describe the protest? Why are they protesting? Are they unhappy about the food? Or are they unhappy about the land? Do they think they should have better land?
So the situation in India that we talked about, I don't know, probably 2 months ago or something like that, is that in late November, there was the largest, quite possibly, almost certainly, the largest organized strike in human history. And
yeah, I think it was the largest organized strike.
Went by with not much of a word from the U.S. media. 250 million people. All refused to work on the same day. They have a very clear list of demands, and I mean that's those are the two most important things to have if you want to really get the attention of a government that you're trying to
You're trying to appeal to? You're trying to
that you want
negotiate with?
You want to get their attention, and then you want to have some leverage to like get them to act in the way that you want them to act. Because I mean, we'll probably get into this more later, but like I feel like this type of political action is like really the only way forward in the meantime, like at least in the short term.
Just like large groups of workers all protesting?
Just gigantic groups of people saying, I'm not going to work. And the thing is, you know, a way of having to convince people of that, because people understandably be like, well, I can't get fired from my job. Like, how am I going to live, right?
It's just going to speed up. I'm telling you, man, it's just going to speed up robots.
I don't know.
Did you not see those dancing robots from Boston Dynamics?
Yeah, but they still need... Well, I guess I was going to say they still need people to make the robots, but in a lot of people, I think they're already having robots that can kind of make other robots, but they still need people to service those robots as well.
The people who make the robots, who program the robots, they get paid well enough to where they don't feel like protesting.
Yeah, well, I think...
some of those people are good people. I know people who are involved in...
The thing is the only place you can really hit like the government and the large corporations that run the government is to disrupt their flow of capital and
deny the rich.
You can do that very effectively in a single day if enough people organize at the same time. Like this group in India, like they effectively like stopped the economy in India. And I mean, they represented like a quarter of the population of the country, but that's still huge. In any case, like, so it was this giant strike, but it was also a strike coupled with protest where like, I don't know what the number was, but like, let's say even half of the 250 million people showed up, or even a quarter of them, whatever, a huge amount of them traveled to New Delhi and like camped out and like physically protested while also, you know, saying we're going to be on strike until you meet these demands. And I thought it was a really cool story, and I've tried to like remind myself about it, like whenever I get pissed off about things, which is every day. But so anyway, we just wanted to like give an update on what's been happening since then. And so one of the things that happened pretty recently, this is like less than a week ago, I believe. Yeah. There was so these same farmers, they stormed India's Red Fort as a challenge to Modi. And so this article in the AP says, tens of thousands of farmers marched, rode horses, and drove tractors into India's capital on Tuesday, breaking through police barricades to storm the historic Red Fort, a deeply symbolic act that revealed the scale of their challenge to Prime Minister Modi's government. As the country celebrated Republic Day, the long-running protest turned violent, with farmers waving farm union and religious flags from the ramparts of the fort, where prime ministers annually hoist the national flag on the country's August independence holiday. Riot police fired tear gas and water cannons and set up barricades in an attempt to prevent the protesters from reaching the center of New Delhi, but the demonstrators broke through in many places. Yeah. I remember reading, like, when we first talked about this basic story, the moment where the farmer on a tractor who'd driven who knows how fucking far on a tractor just bashed through one of the police barriers and said to the police officer or whatever, whoever it was, maybe it was a soldier. What was it exactly? Like, "This is a revolution, sir." Like, very politely. Anyway, so they did end up taking over this fort, which was built in the 17th century. It has like a lot of symbolic importance, this place. And to see them like waving their own like Union and farmer flags and religious flags like in place of like a national flag from there, I think is pretty...
Yeah, that's actually really cool.
Yeah, it's cool. I'm weirdly just suddenly drawing a parallel though to the stupid ass protest at the Capitol. It's got some parallels in a way, except these people are totally justified in what they're doing, unlike those Capitol idiots.
The Capitol didn't really have demands, did they?
No, their
demand recount.
Their demand was not even their demand was just make Trump president because we like Trump. Yeah, it was not organized. I mean, I'm not really trying to compare the two. I'm just saying, like, on the surface level, they went to a place of symbolic importance and waved their own flags. Like, that's...
So have the workers in India gotten any of their demands met yet? I guess not. They're still...
That I'm not sure about. I mean, the last thing I'd read before this was that, like, Modi was like kind of trying to look like he was working with them, but it was very like surface level bullshit. Like,
yeah, I think
like they allowed them to protest initially, but they made them protest on like the outskirts of the city. Like, and even though like a bunch of people just refused to move and stayed right in front of the Capitol. One of the farmers said, "We want to show Modi our strength. We will not surrender." Leaders of the farmers said more than 10,000 tractors joined the protest. I like this idea of a tractor insurrection. I don't know why. It's just kind of cool. I mean, because it's literally like the farmers, like, you know, tool. Yeah. And then, yeah, people were just like, people traveled on foot from pretty far away, I guess on horseback. And of course, like the majority of just the people who aren't necessarily part of the demonstrations are very supportive of this as well. And just to like repeat what we talked about before, but like their demands are very modest. Like they want like a very minimal like living wage. Like it probably is like a subsistence wage, honestly. I forget what the exchange rate was on the money. I don't have their demand list in front of me right now.
It's I don't remember. I remember it's really low.
But the main thing is they wanted like these contracts with like giant agribusinesses, like just gone. Like they're losing a lot of farmland, and their, you know, way of staying alive. And there was a yeah, here we go. More than half of the farmers in the country are in debt, and 2,638 of them committed suicide in the last 2 years, according to official records. That's pretty grim.
That is really grim.
And
so basically they're just protesting to be treated like humans.
Yeah. And well, they do, like, their demands are modest, I would say. Here, there's a quote here that they're not only protesting about these, like, this agribusiness infringing on their livelihoods, but, quote, challenging the entire economic design of the country, which is even more heartening to hear. So it's not, while it is like a farmer's revolt or direct action in a way, it's not just that. Like they're talking about like the economic disparities within the whole country as well. Yeah, I mean, it's what's happening all over the world, like just insane income inequality.
Sucks.
But at least they're fucking doing something about, they're really doing something about it, which is, it's like
more than most of the world.
Yeah, I mean, it's, I wish the United States could be more aware of this and maybe see how it is like
possible.
It is working slowly but surely. Like it hasn't been snuffed out. And I mean, there was the huge strike in late November, but this has basically been going, like these general protests have been going on since at least 2020. And I think maybe before that. But yeah, Modi's, I don't know a lot about, I mean, I know very little about Indian politics, I'll admit, but I do know that the party that's in charge right now is just extremely far right and oppressive and horrible in like every way. And I'm glad these people are standing up to them in the only effective way I can see how, which is general strikes coupled with like public protest, because you have to like, you got to get eyes on you. You can't just sit at home, obviously. But that's it. That's another thing though I've thought about is like, because of coronavirus, like in the United States, for example, like if there was just a gigantic, massive strike, if it was enough people, you wouldn't even really need the protest element, because it would just be like, I mean, Jesus, man, we saw how, and this will just, maybe this will seek us into the next topic, but we saw how much the billionaire class, the ruling class freaked out about fucking, I keep wanting to call it Gamergate, but GameStopGate.
Are they calling it GameStopGate now? I guess they would be calling it GameStopGate.
Yeah, like nobody knows how to like shorthand refer to it, except for I've just seen it as like GameStopGate, but or like the Robin Hood thing. But yeah, imagine if a quarter of work, like people with jobs right now in the US just on one day said no. I mean, that would severely interrupt the business of the economy.
It might convince people that, hey, we need to do something to improve everyone's living, especially like now when I think I sent it to you, but cooks and bakers have been added to like the most dangerous job list.
Yeah, of course, because they're essential business. Like they've never gotten any protections.
Not even hazard pay.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's gotten hazard pay unless the company chooses to do it, which is probably very few and far between.
Yeah,
there's definitely been no laws about hazard
handing out hazard pay.
And the idea that fast food restaurants are essential is just fucking insane.
What would someone eat without it? I was going to say, what would Donald Trump eat? But let's not talk about him anymore. He's dead.
He's probably like that kid in that movie Blank Check. Wait, no, it wasn't Blank Check. It was Macaulay.
Never seen the movie Blank Check.
Oh man, classic 90s kids movie. I tried to rewatch it as an adult for some reason when I was drunk one time. It's fucking weird. That's the movie where the kid literally gets a blank check and like
I remember seeing it. For some reason, my parents wouldn't let me watch it, but they let me watch Pulp Fiction. So, you know.
Well, there is this weird thing in Blank Check where the little kid, star of the movie, he has like this bizarre flirty relationship with a grown woman. Like they like go out on a date at one point in the movie, and it's supposed to be like, oh, it's just cutesy, like she's playing along with his little boyhood crush, but she like kisses him on the lips or some shit. There's like a creepy vibe in that movie with that regard.
Money will get you laid, man.
Yeah. His check is that he can write it for any amount of money, and he goes with $1 million, and then it shows him spending like what must be like $10 million. Anyway, that is a flaw in the $1 million
was worth $10 million. That's how inflation
Yeah, maybe
works.
the inflation works out. I don't think it does. Like he goes on a pretty crazed shopping spree.
So he's still poorer than Richie Rich.
Well, and that's what I was going to say. Is what I was confusing was that movie Richie Rich, which I never saw, but for some reason I know has a bit in it where, it's because of a movie podcast I listened to that made fun of it. There's a bit where Macaulay Culkin as Richie Rich, his mansion has a McDonald's in it, which was like every kid's dream in 1993 or whatever.
I hated McDonald's when I was a kid.
Really?
Weirdly, I like McDonald's more as an adult than I ever did as a kid.
I was going to say, you talk about it a lot.
I thought it was absolutely disgusting when I was a kid. I don't know what happened. I think I hated it the whole time I lived in America, and I've came to like it a bit in Korea.
You're weird, man.
I had like I actually like pickles now, but when I was a child, I fucking hated pickles. Like I hated them to like umpteenth degree. And I just remember one of the only times I had McDonald's as a kid, I was at a friend's house and his mom went and picked us up like double cheeseburgers or whatever. And I was like, no pickles. I hate pickles. Pickles will make me throw up. And then I ate the cheeseburger that she didn't ask for no pickles on, and I like projectile vomited everywhere.
Oh, Jesus.
Fucking wimp. And
projectile.
And I got sent home because I was sick. But I think Vicky was pissed. I think she was pissed that I puked all over her dinner table.
I'd be pissed off at you too, you weird little exorcist freak. You know, you can also just take them off. I think that's what I used to do because I didn't like them either. And I would just take them off manually.
I think I may have, but even just like the vinegary after juice would bother me. And it's weird because as an adult, I fucking love them. Like, I love pickles now. But it took me a long time to love pickles. I don't know. I was a weird kid, but I definitely hated McDonald's. Like, I really liked, I liked Wendy's.
I mean, Wendy's is superior, but I didn't realize that till I was more grown up, I guess. But speaking of fast food restaurants,
there's a brief moment that McDonald's had the pizzas. I liked their pizza.
Oh, that sounds totally disgusting.
Don't be a pizza snob.
I've never had it. The idea of a McDonald's pizza immediately makes me think it must be horrible.
It was just like a personal pan pizza.
I don't know.
It probably was horrible.
I remain a skeptic. Speaking of personal pan pizzas, the protesting farmers returned to camp after storming the Indian fort, not the Indian fort. So as an update on what happened on that, when they took over that red fort, at least one protester was killed. Many demonstrators were injured. 390 police officers were also injured. Those are numbers you never see in the United States from a protest.
It's 'cause police
it'll be like
and good armor.
Well, yeah, it'll be like 10,000 demonstrators had their skulls caved in, and one police officer got a paper cut. This violence against police has to end.
I mean, everyone knows that one police officer is worth 10,000 protesters. That's simple mathematics.
Quick aside, did you hear about this this 9-year-old girl getting pepper sprayed while handcuffed?
No. It's terrible.
It's I'm gonna okay, since you haven't heard about it, let's see if you can guess some of the details. What race do you think the police officers were?
I don't know.
You don't have a clue? You don't have a gut intuition?
No, just tell me. I assume they're white because they're police officers.
That's what I'm saying. Just tell me what you assume.
I guess they're white.
Yeah. Now, the 9-year-old girl who they handcuffed and very blithely pepper sprayed while she was screaming for her father, do you imagine she was also white?
No.
Of course not. She's black. And that
seems racist.
The police chief, or whatever the fuck, after the fact, he gave some really bizarre defense of the actions of the cops. He was just, it was so nauseating to watch. I mean, I saw that. I couldn't watch the whole thing, but I felt like weirdly like it was my duty to watch the actual video footage, because when it got released, the what do you call it? The body cam footage. And so like and I don't know the full deep background on the story. I don't even know exactly who called the police, but like, and none of it matters. None of it changes how horrible what they did was. But like, I guess there was like some sort of family incident or something. Basically, a 9-year-old girl was like arguing with her mom and dad. And one detail I read said that she was like threatening to kill herself, which like all the more reason to not send the fucking boneheaded police into this situation. This is like textbook reason why like social workers and counselors of different sorts should be sent into these situations.
I imagine their country has decided social work is not essential work.
But you get a fucking like hot dog necked fucking dumbass policeman in there, and policewoman. I forget which one actually did the pepper spraying. It might have been it doesn't matter. But and like the video
a fucking 9-year-old.
The video I saw was like she's just like crying, and she's like sort of refusing to do what they say, which is like get in our car. And it's like, of course she is. She's old enough to know that like black people don't get fair treatment from fucking police officers. So she's probably terrified. She's just screaming to see her parents, her dad. She keeps saying, I want to see my father. And they finally like shove her in the back of the police car, and they're just telling they sound like parents who can't take it anymore. Just like, shut this kid up is like their whole attitude. Yeah. I think at one point early on, one of the cops says something like slightly useful, like, tell me what's wrong. But then it like that goes out the window because she won't stop crying. So they're just like, get in the car. And they're just like increasingly angry. They handcuff her as if she's some sort of threat. You know, and I'm sure they're going to say like she could have been a danger to herself. It's just a fucking appalling, man. I don't know what to say. Like, and the worst part of it is this shit never stops. It seems like every week there's another one of these kind of stories. Like just in the same week, there was of course, a white hot dog neck police officer, body slamming this like black teenage girl in the middle of school, like in the cafeteria or something. because she was being like insubordinate, just body slamming her, like smashed her head on the floor. And like,
imagine if America was a civilization. I don't know. Like, I'm just sitting here. I'm trying to imagine any situation in Korea where they would ever pepper spray a 9-year-old kid. And I cannot. It's just about impossible for me to imagine that situation.
I mean, even Americans, like, that's why this story is sort of taking off, because like, even for the low bar of American policing, this seems to be like a new level of depravity.
She's fucking 9. I mean, if you want to put her in the back of the car.
If you watch the video, the way that they really casually say it too, the one cop just goes, you might as well just spray her. Just spray her now. Like that. Like exactly like that. And then they do it. And she's shrieking, screaming. I don't know how you can bring yourself to do that.
It's fucked up. I mean, I pepper sprayed myself once when I was 18 on a dare. Jesus. When I was drunk, and one of my friends had just gotten back from his first tour as a Marine, and we were drinking heavily together, and he was bragging about in basic how they pepper sprayed everyone, and he's like, you can't take it, and I'm like, I motherfucker can take it. So we got some pepper spray, and I fucking pepper sprayed myself, and you know what? It fucking sucked. Don't do that.
Why didn't you at least have him do it from like 10 feet away? I mean, it's still going to hurt.
Don't drunkenly decide, yeah, this is a good idea. I'll prove I'm a man.
Thanks for this public service announcement. Now I won't pepper spray myself.
Don't do a lot of stuff I did when I was 18 to 20.
So, yeah, you did that when
I was 18 to 35.
You did that when you were drunk and an adult. Like, imagine some terrifying authority figure doing it to you while you're already like in a highly like distraught state. Like it's just horrifying.
Incomparable. I mean,
and of course some people are defending it somehow online, and even their boss. Like nothing's happened to these cops, of course. I didn't want to talk about this for too long, but like, man, I'll send you the video of the guy like trying to defend it to the press. It's so pathetic. Like all he does is he keeps deflecting the questions and saying how hard it is to be a police officer. He's like, those officers, they would have had to go out on another call. He's just like using hypotheticals to like try to say how hard their job is. So they got to make hard decisions. And it's like nothing you're saying defends their actions at all. And he's like, and he just seems annoyed that he even has to answer these questions. Like, yes, we pepper sprayed a 9-year-old girl who was already handcuffed, who is guilty of the crime of acting like a 9-year-old girl who's being harassed by the police, basically. Anyway, fuck the police. We should move on to the next thing, though. Unless you got any last words on pepper spraying 9-year-olds.
Next thing is what? GameStop?
We kind of interrupted talking about India, so let me just wrap that one up. But
okay.
I was like listing off some of the stats there. It was like 390 police were injured. 19 people were arrested. 15 others detained for questioning. That's also like a really low number compared to what would have happened in the U.S. I mean, I'm guessing maybe, I don't really know what the police state is like in New Delhi. I'm guessing it's probably not as like well funded as the militarized police in the United States, where like, thousands of people get arrested just for saying that black people are human. But okay, so I mean, the good news is none of this is slowing down the movement. they're going to continue protesting and striking until their demands are met. And total solidarity. And I really wish this story would just like be more widely talked about. Like even in like our little niche like world of like sort of leftist media, this didn't get much traction, especially when it was like the 250 million people doing a general strike. Like I can't remember any of like, I don't know, the podcasts I listened to, or I guess Jacobin
had one article
they
about
had
it.
one article about it. That's probably like it though.
And maybe Jacobin's podcast talked about it, but well, I love Jacobin. Every time I've tried to listen to their podcast, I just get sleepy.
And the World Socialist website has been covering it. They're one of the sites that posted an update about it, which is what made me think about it again. So anyway, we like all sorts of sources here, even ones that hate each other, like the World Socialist website and Jacobin.
I'm still on the camp that the infighting in the left is generally bad, personally.
I mean, you say that, but like, of course it's not good, but like, I feel like you got to be more specific. Like, some of it is good.
There's worse people to be fighting.
Yeah.
But then maybe I'm just sounding like one of the Democrats who say, you just got to give Biden a chance. I don't know.
Well, I don't know what it means, because like there are.
Well, I guess sometimes
it's
from
frustrating.
The outside,
but
it looks.
It's frustrating, but I think it's inevitable. Like, I think just saying like, can't we all just get along, also doesn't help either. Like, there's gonna be like arguments about tactics and stuff. I mean, of course, ideally, it would be great if the Trotskyites and like Jacobin and everybody could like find common ground. And I mean, I want that too, but like it might take like arguing to get to that point. And the thing is I don't really see, I don't really see Jacobin or the DSA ever really are like defending themselves against them. It's more like they're just kind of ignoring the World Socialist website as like a bunch of cranks who aren't worthy of like even mentioning. But I don't know. That's for a whole other episode about infighting, which we've talked about doing for a while. I mean, I agree. I don't like it, but I mean, I think I mean, as much as like the Republicans are pretty lockstep, like the right is pretty fractured too. I mean, you've got like libertarians, you've got like Trump conservatives, you've got anti-Trump conservatives. There's like bitter fights going on the right as well. They're not like as united as we kind of imagine them to be sometimes.
I think they're just better at falling in line at times.
The Republican Party itself, but like actual just like people with like varying beliefs, like I think there's a fair amount of infight. The thing is like you and I don't pay attention to that world as closely, so we don't really know all the nuances. But let's do an update on Gamergate or GameStopGate.
Let's keep this one brief.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have much to add to it personally. You probably know more about what's happened since the last 4 days or whatever.
They're still doing the squeeze. There was the big thing where Robinhood and Webull and some of the other big stock trading apps closed the ability to buy the stock. And some of them even wanted to try to force sales. I don't think that actually went through. Turns out that Robinhood was, which I mentioned on the last podcast, loosely, or not loosely, definitely connected to Melvin Capital. which is the hedge fund that is that was trying to short GameStop. Right now, I want to say it looks like the Redditors are winning on this one, but I think that Wall Street's working its best to figure out how to make sure this never happens again, and I don't think it will ever happen again. I doubt like the AMC and Beyond BAF stocks are going to do the same thing as GameStop. And it also looks like their Wall Street specifically is trying to start a rumor that everyone should hedge all their money into silver as like a ploy to get people to sell their GameStop stuff so they'll like go and buy silver. But it doesn't look like it's working. It seems that both the Wall Street Bets Twitter and Reddit are on top of that and like making sure to fight the disinformation campaign.
So they're pointing out that this is like a lie. Like you said, disinformation.
Like but
yeah, because there was like word going around. It was like, oh, all of the same people that did the GameStop thing have moved on to doing a short squeeze on.
I mean, if they were moving on to do a
silver,
if they were moving on to do a short squeeze on anything, it was a meme cryptocurrency called Dogecoin. Which is not really, well, cryptocurrency is a weird thing where it's kind of evil when you look at environmental impacts, but they were just doing it because it's funny, because Dogecoin is like a coin based on that fucking meme dog thing, and you know, the happy looking dog meme.
Okay.
And a lot of those people decided to try to raise that cryptocurrency to $1, which is a lot. But I think that was more the get rich quick sort in the group, who's like, oh, if it works that, maybe we can just make ourselves rich quick by making this as big as ever, which is just a pump and dump. But yeah, it seems that like Reddit's winning the fight right now, in my opinion. But I don't think that it's going to be able to happen again. I think that things are transpiring, like I said in our very first podcast, to make it impossible for something like this to ever happen again.
But I mean, what would that look like? I mean, are they really gonna want the government to like come in and do some kind of government regulations, or are they just going to like change? They're gonna just do what they've already started doing, which is like the Robinhood app just started like selling people's shares off like against their will, right?
I think the thing that looks like what they would like to do is monitor network traffic on social media, and whenever people start to work together to squeeze a stock, that's when they'll put stops on buying the stock.
So they're gonna. You mean they're gonna?
And they'll pass it off as they're protecting people because these are dangerous gambling activities. It's not good investment practice, and you're supposed to be a responsible investor.
So I'm sure, like, they probably could easily get the ear of like Facebook, probably Twitter, to like do.
Right? They don't even have to. All they have to do is run their own bots that mine data, because all of it's public information. So they just set up a bot network that goes and reads like the targeted forums or whatever, and they collect the information, and when they see it spiking, that's when they...
But then wouldn't this be sort of a similar situation to like deplatforming the MAGA people, where they're just going to go to like encrypted, like, you know, to Telegram or whatever?
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, that's what they'll do, and I don't know. We'll see. I mean, I think you're probably right. I just, like, as a gut feeling, I do wonder, though, like you were saying, if Citadel, or what is it, Melvin, whatever,
Melvin Capital,
they're one and the same, basically.
I think they might get a government handout to help bail them out of this situation.
Do you think they'll just write them a check, or do you think it'll be like they'll try to sneak it by in like a stimulus package thing?
I think they'll try to sneak it by in a stimulus package, and I think the justification will be, well, a lot of these investment firms, people have retirement money tied up into them, and it's going to hurt regular people too.
I hate them all.
And I mean, it's just fucking dumb because these are like supposed to be great financiers or whatever, but they don't have stopgap set. Like a stopgap is like if you're trying to short a stock, you set an automatic stopgap. So if it's not doing what you want to, it just automatically sells before you get in trouble. But these companies are so fucking arrogant that they don't do like basic, like guy who knows literally nothing about investing. I know what a stopgap is because I fucking read, but it seems these fucking Wall Street guys are just so overconfident in their ability to manipulate the market that they don't do the most basic of things that I'm pretty sure they tell normal folk to do.
Well, because they're not normal folk. They're deities. They're gods among men. They control.
They have 7-car garages in Brooklyn.
They just look at the numbers and they like just imagine them like trying to like they've got like 6 monitors around their desk and they're just like pointing at them like they're conducting a fucking symphony.
Every year they pick up their power drill and drill into the right spot of their brain so that they understand the pi.
The golden ratio. I've got this. I just found this thing. It's like a minute long. You should hear it if you haven't heard it already. It's some fucking pencil pusher. I don't know. He's some like stock market expert, I'm guessing, who's talking about the whole situation. But listen to how he like just goes off on this weird tangent. This is on MSNBC like recently.
Maybe you're learning here. Maybe it's fun. Fine. Maybe it's a movement. But be prepared to lose 80 to 90% of it. And if it's still worth it, then have at it. But the biggest loss of capital here will be the human capital of young men who are sitting and staring at their phone and watching the price of Bitcoin or the price of AMC. And ask yourself, would you be better off taking that 1, 2, or 3 hours a day and working out, trying to form relationships with mentors, with romantic relationships, with people at work, getting great at something so you can be the person on the other side of the...
This is like the king of the incels talking down to what he perceives to be other incels who live in their mom's basements. He's like changing the whole conversation away from like how they've totally fucking just gamed these fucking arrogant assholes into this like lecture on how they need to live a better life. Hang on, there's a little more.
The trade. The greatest loss in capital here is from young men who are more prone to gambling addiction, who don't understand the markets. I think we are setting ourselves up similar to how there's a ton of young women out there who became very depressed by sitting in their rooms looking at Instagram. Self-cutting and self-harm skyrocket. I think you are going to see an explosion in young male depression, and I think a lot of it is going to be reverse engineered to apps that convince you you're part of a movement or physically addict you to your phone. Ask yourself, would your time staring at Robinhood be better spent somewhere else? That is the real capital destruction that is taking place here.
The real capital destruction. You know,
this is a guy who makes his living, presumably, off of...
Here's the fucking thing. I don't completely disagree with him, but what I think is everyone should stop looking at the stock market. Yeah, it is irrelevant. He's just like, get your eyes off of what we do. Don't pay attention. Why are you guys suddenly uppity and think you can also be part of this game?
This guy does not give a shit about the quality of life of young people. He's so angry about them fucking with his precious stock market, but he knows he can't just outright say it like that, like some of these other assholes have been saying and looking really dumb. So instead he just goes off on this weird tangent about like, live your best life, everybody, get off the couch.
So he definitely is a Jordan Peterson fan, right?
He
all his advice was the same as
looks like he
Peterson.
Could be Jordan Peterson's like older brother, yeah.
Is Jordan Peterson dead? I kind of remember hearing he was like...
People kept saying that as a joke, and no.
He was sick though, right?
He wrote a new book, I think, recently.
He had a stroke or some bullshit?
He was really ill. He...
his daughter,
because of his all-meat diet, and he had like a Klonopin addiction, and he went to like...
bad stuff.
He went... people were saying that like his daughter is basically trying to kill him so she can like inherit the throne or whatever. But I think she's just manipulating his fame to like work in her favor. But yeah, I don't know. That's all I heard about it. It was like he was having a hard time because I mean I've heard it is very hard to kick benzos. Like
I've heard it's one of maybe the hardest thing to kick.
Yeah, it's like a terror. It's like a psychological, physical horror show, from what I've heard.
Been lucky that I haven't fallen in love with them at any point in my life.
Yeah, I mean, I take them, but at a very much maintenance level. I do sometimes worry. I've thought about like, would I have withdrawal symptoms? I don't know, because I don't know. I don't like get high off of them. Like it really is just like a small daily dose to keep my mind at ease. But yeah, that's like one of the fears in the back of my mind is like being in a situation where I don't have my medicines and just like going into like a horrible series of panic attacks for like days on end. I don't know. I think you have to be like upping the dosage type thing, like truly addicted, but I don't know. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I'm not sure, to be honest.
I'll ask my doctor the next time I go.
I want to take a break for just a second. Sorry, I had to urinate for like the past 45 minutes.
Oh, Jesus, dude. You should have said something.
I didn't want to.
It's fine, man. You got editing.
I'm an awkward person.
All right. Well, way to take one for the team. We'll use all of our podcast funds that we collect to pay for your urinary tract infection.
You can leave that in the podcast, me saying I've had to urinate for the past 45 minutes.
All right.
Listeners need to know. Maybe they don't need to know, do they?
I mean, whatever. We'll see. We'll see how the flow is in the editing process. Okay. Or so, maybe the cold open will just be you saying that, and then I'll go to the. Okay, not quite done with GameStopGate though. A couple more things, quick things. So, Yellen.
What's up with Yellen?
Yellen's been Jesus. God.
What's up with Yellen?
Yellen. I mean, we talked about this last time, but Janet Yellen, the Secretary of the Treasury, she has all kinds of conflicts of interest, specifically with this GameStopGate thing, because she was paid by Citadel, which owns Melvin, the hedge fund, and which also owns the Robinhood app. And yeah, she's the one who, if anyone's going to have anything to say about this situation in the government, it's basically her.
It's going to be her.
And which is exactly what our wonderful new press secretary, Psaki, had to say in this kind of hilarious video clip, which I'll play really quickly.
Is the White House concerned about the stock market activity we're seeing around GameStop, and now with some other stocks as well, including the subsidiary or whatever, the company that was Blockbuster? And have there been any conversations with the SEC about how to proceed?
Well, I'm also happy to repeat that we have the first female Treasury Secretary and a team that's surrounding her, and often questions about market we'll send to them. But our team is, of course, our economic team, including Secretary Yellen and others, are monitoring the situation. It's a good reminder, though, that the stock market isn't the only measure of the health of our economy. It doesn't reflect how working and middle-class families are doing. As you all know from covering this, we're in the midst of a K-shaped recovery. America's workers are struggling to make ends meet, which is why the president has introduced this urgent package to get immediate relief to families.
Okay, so
what the fuck's a K-shaped recovery?
I don't know. When she said it, it was making me think of like a
cereal.
It made me think of like a 3-point turnaround or whatever in a car, you know.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
It's like a Y shape. So I was picturing someone like turning their car around, but in the shape of the capital letter K. I don't know. I don't really know what it means. I've heard it before, but I don't know what it means. I think it just means complicated, but I don't know. I really don't know. But the funnier thing to me is that she has to preempt she has to give this upfront thing about the credentials of Janet Yellen being a woman. And like, is that how this is going to go for the next 4 years? Like any question about anyone is like, so the Secretary of Defense just killed 30,000 people in a bombing raid. What does the White House have to say about that? Well, I'm happy to report that he is our first black Secretary of Defense. I mean, what the... She already looks so dumb. Like, I know I said, like, oh, she's just going to be this, like, smooth-talking, like, articulate person, but it seems like the opposite already. Like, she is like looking down at her notes the whole time she's saying that too. Like she just looks nervous, which is why I want to find out what the fuck is up with this idea that her brother works for Citadel as like a top portfolio manager, which is something that is just like going around the internet, but there seems to be no hard evidence of her having a brother. I don't know why it's so hard to find, but it seems that Yellen is not the only one who is maybe compromised here or has a conflict of interest. And this is not the first time that Psaki has like deflected really poorly about questions about the whole GameStop situation. In any case, she also like not related to GameStop, but just related to her being this new press secretary. I'm not gonna find the clip, but like some guy from like the Catholic whatever, like the Daily Catholic News Bugler was like, what's Biden's position on the what is it, the Hyde Act? Do you know about that?
No, I don't know a lot about the Hyde Act.
I think it's the Hyde Act or the Hyde Amendment. Sorry, the Hyde Amendment. It's basically saying that federal funds cannot pay for abortions. So it like vastly decreases the availability of abortions like around the country, especially people living in like more rural areas, which is like why you can live in certain parts of Texas and be like, 500 miles from the nearest clinic.
Yeah.
And her response was very similar again to this. Well, as you know, the first woman, she's like, well, as you know, Joe Biden is a Catholic. In fact, he just went to church this morning with his family. Haha, isn't that something? And it's like,
good.
She's just like buying time. Like she doesn't want to give an answer. And the thing is actually Joe Biden voted to preserve the Hyde Amendment like 55 times, so over 50 times is what I remember reading. And
Jesus.
Yeah, he sucks. He just fucking sucks. Why don't people understand that? Anyway, speaking of Biden sucking, that is kind of like the next part of the podcast here.
Tell us about how Biden sucks. We don't get enough of that on the podcast.
Well, man, if you give me some other material, all I get is this endless fucking fuckery. I mean,
I've heard some people are happy with him, at least with what he's doing with the environment, but I don't know. I'm not even 100% sure on that.
Really? Because that is such horseshit. He just okay. I'll skip the first thing I was going to talk about and go right to that. So, the Sunrise Movement, who I now view as like I don't know. They're trying their best. They're like mostly pretty young. I guess I give them a pass in some ways, but like they gave Biden a rating of an F on an A to F scale. When during the Democratic primaries, when they were, they had endorsed Bernie, of course.
Yeah.
And then Bernie had everything stolen away from him. Senile Biden was propped up and put in the front of the of the race. And of course they had to pivot towards okay, well, we'll push Biden on environmental stuff. And they think that they got all these great concessions from him. Like one of them, I was reading about it last night. One of them was like the Biden Sanders task force. Like it's all this meaningless task force committee shit that doesn't really mean anything. And just promises that are what, you're taking his word for it? I promise I'll spend $2 trillion on environment stuff. And they're this is a great win for our movement. They are really delusional, because I saw them post recently how they're so shocked and upset to find out that Biden has just issued within his first week, he issued 31 new oil drilling contracts.
Of course he did.
And they're like, how could he do this to us? And I think I couldn't stop from responding to them. I was like, he said it over and over again, literally out loud, quite loudly. The thing we love saying on our podcast, I'm not banning fracking. Let me say it again. I am not banning fracking. He said it. He meant it. It's one of the few things he's not lying about. It just boggles my mind when people are like, how could he betray us like that? It's this is a man who's known for mostly for lying. He's famous for being a pathological liar. And he told you to your face what he was going to do when it came to oil drilling and fracking and shit. Come on. He's not doing anything good with the environment. I've seen the headlines that are Biden's got the most progressive move on the environment ever. Most progressive platform ever. Really?
Of course he does.
Well, I mean, let's see more about his progressiveness, his truth telling. I mean, the thing on everybody's mind is, understandably, because people are really suffering and need help, is how this endless lying and gaslighting about the $2,000 check, it just doesn't end. The recent development since the last episode was that the Democratic Party and the official POTUS Twitter thing put out these big official looking things that say $1,400 on them. And it's just such a slap in the face. I don't know. I mean, there's not much else to rehash about it, I guess, honestly. But I guess the developments are that, yeah, they're rubbing it in everyone's face. The blatant lies. There's just these lapdog bootlickers who are defending it. It was always 1,400. There are these amazing video this video montage of how many times not just Biden but Ossoff and Warnock and other Democrats all just were pushing this. Vote for, get us those seats in Georgia, and we'll get you that $2,000. Like, there's no other way to understand it. But now Biden's, of course, he can't leave well enough alone. He can't just fuck you over once and insult your intelligence once. Now he's got negotiations going with the Republicans on how to reduce his $1.9 trillion COVID bill, his amazing 1.9 life-changing COVID bill. Because he's allowing the GOP to dictate terms for no reason other than that he wants to lose. I don't know. Like, I can't imagine, I can't see any other explanation for why they're doing this whole check fucking around shit. Because if any single issue is going to make the Democrats lose their majorities in both houses in 2022, it's going to be this. People are not going to forget this shit.
People aren't going to forgive it. They're going to be like, this is why we voted you in, because we need help right now.
And so, like, sometimes you see people going like, I'm so flabbergasted. I don't understand why they would do this. Do they want, like, why are they so weak? Why are they so spineless? And I mean, this is like a running theme on our podcast, but I'm convinced they're not weak and spineless. This is completely intentional. They don't want both houses of Congress. That's too. Then they have. They don't. Then their only scapegoat is within their party, which is like the Joe Manchin and what's her name, Cinema, but especially Joe Manchin. Yeah, I think it's all just very intentional. I don't know what else to say about it really, other than, I mean, there is like incompetence and weakness in the Democratic Party, but I think more than that, it's like, it's calculated decisions about where and when to lose. And I think coming right out of the gate, like day one, and being like, no, 2000 means 1400. I'm going to just mind fuck you now. Like, chew on that, voters. And like, it'll piss off just enough people to where they don't, like, you know, they're not going to lose like 50 seats or whatever, but they're not going to maintain any majority, which is, I'm convinced, what they want. Anyway, that's the check stuff, sort of updated, rehashed. Yeah, the Republicans are already putting a number out there too. They're saying the direct payment check should be $1,000 now. And Biden has not said, hell no, I'm going to stand up for my people. He's just said, oh, I'm open to all kinds of ideas. I'm a real pansexual freak. I don't know.
You gotta be a pansexual freak.
No offense to pansexual freaks out there. Godspeed. So we've made it this far without really talking about COVID, but let's talk about COVID some more.
Okay, what's going on with COVID? We beat it finally.
Hooray! We saved the best information for the end.
The vaccines finally happened.
Yep, everybody's fine now. No, I mean, one of the more things that I found personally interesting this week about Biden and COVID. So one of his advisors, this Dr. Osterholm.
Okay.
Back in November, like mid-November, he told Biden that a lockdown of 4 to 6 weeks would be necessary to control the pandemic and revive the economy. And I tried finding out more about this guy because, so I I posted about this, and weirdly, like immediately, someone who I don't know, who doesn't know anybody that I know on Twitter, like within within 1 second responded to me. It felt almost like they were some sort of bot designed to like attack someone who posts this article, but they also sounded too stupid to be a bot, if that makes sense.
No, it does.
Anyway, it was just, that part alone was weird. But they were like, why are you posting things from 2 months ago? It's irrelevant. We have the vaccine now. And obviously it's not irrelevant for so many reasons. I mean, the vaccine is, the rollout is so slow. There's all these mutations. Even if the vaccine rollout was going perfectly, I would say a national lockdown is totally necessary at this point. It has been at every point along the way up until now. Because really the only way to like it's too out of control now to where like all the stuff that the Biden administration's proposing to do to beat the coronavirus, which some delusional people really think he's going to do within like a matter of months, is like they're gonna pump some more money into things like testing and contact tracing and vaccine distribution. They're still going to let the states distribute the vaccines however they want. So it's just chaos. And contact tracing and testing, while it's good, is like, it's like pouring like a thimble full of water out on a house fire at this point. Like the virus is so fucking far spread that that's not going to drop the numbers at all, really. Like I think the only way you truly drop the numbers without like letting the thing basically run its course and kill millions of people is like a true lockdown. And I mean, at this point, it's got to be for probably like 2 months.
We're not going to get that.
I know, but it's worth saying what's right. Like, otherwise, like, it's kind of in the way that where like traditional protest and like just shouting into the void of the internet is not going to do anything to like change the government or government policies either. Like, you need a fucking giant general strike in that same way to really effectively fight COVID, especially in the state that the U.S. is in. I don't think it's possible without a actual national lockdown, which we never had, by the way. People seem to imagine that we had a true national lockdown. We never did, ever. It was all, I mean, that was Trump's whole thing, which Biden continues to this day, which is let the states sort it out on their, like, individually. We'll give them advice and funding, but we're not going to actually like implement a plan across the country, because then we'd have to take real responsibility. But yeah, this Osterholm guy, he I don't know if I can't seem to find much more updated information on him for some reason. I downloaded his podcast. Apparently it's a podcast where he just updates about COVID every week. But I did like a keyword search for lockdowns and all of his episodes, and there wasn't anything. And it doesn't seem like he's been talking about it sense this. This CNBC article I've got here. But it was just, anyway, the point is I found it interesting that Mr. Biden, I'll listen to the scientists. Literally one of his like hired lackeys, like one of his advisors, told him a lockdown is necessary. And of course he's not listening. I mean, he's not listening to all kinds of scientists.
Seems the only countries capable of lockdowns are Australia, New Zealand, and Taiwan.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean,
China.
I'd like to look into it a little more, but like, didn't, at least early on, I don't know about now, but like, Canada was basically locked down, right?
I think so. I think they've handled it a lot better than some other countries.
I know they were, like, people are still getting monthly survival checks in Canada on top of all the other, like, and I know Canada's not like a perfect country or anything, but like, it's light years ahead of what the United States is doing.
That's true.
So, yeah, this Dr. Osterholm, I don't know, keep an eye out, but I think I have a feeling he's just been kind of told to shut up, honestly, because it looked like all the stuff he's talking about more currently is like, well, because the vaccines are available, maybe we don't need a lockdown. But I mean, I actually didn't see him saying that. It's just the sense I get from the fact that there's no more information from him about this.
Yeah.
And then there's talking about the incompetence of getting the vaccines out. There's this ridiculous story about this kid, basically, who was put in charge of distributing vaccines in, was it Philadelphia?
Yeah, I think it was Philly.
Did you look into this one?
I looked a little bit. What, he was giving it out to his friends instead of like following the list, which is like kind of fucked up. But then again, it's kind of fucked up that there's like a list. It should just be like, it'd just be easier to get the vaccines out if we just let people show up and get in line. And the weird thing is, I still think older people would get more vaccines that way. Like, they could have like a general guideline list, like, hey, you should let like old people go first if they show up.
I mean, shit.
Old people are just more likely to wake up at 6 a.m. and go get in line at like whatever civic centers in your town where they're giving the vaccines than a 20-year-old is.
Yeah, I mean, that would be good too. I mean, I think even if you wanted to, I mean, I think there's something to the idea of taking care of the most vulnerable people first, but they're just not. They're not even trying. Like, you could send out teams of people. You could do like house calls even. Because I'm sure there are some older people too that are basically housebound and maybe don't even have family that helps them out. You know, there are definitely people like that. I mean, those are the most overlooked people. But anyway, this little piece of shit, this 22-year-old kid, he's basically like he's just like a wannabe, venture capitalist, fucking entrepreneur piece of shit. So I'll read a little bit from this NPR piece about him. It started out as a group of college friends who wanted to help during the pandemic. They had tech skills, so they used 3D printers to make face shields. Then they organized as a nonprofit called Philly Fighting COVID and opened a testing site in a Philadelphia neighborhood that didn't have one yet. But the organization's leader, Andre Doroshin, had bigger ambitions. Even before the first coronavirus vaccine was authorized, he made plans to be involved. Who does this piece of shit think he is? Doroshin is a 22-year-old graduate student in psychology at Drexel University. He has no background in healthcare. Cool. On the evening of October 7th, Doroshin gathered 15 of the nonprofit staff members and volunteers for a meeting on a Philadelphia rooftop to show them a fancy PowerPoint. More people joined via live stream to watch him unveil his plan to vaccinate the city of Philadelphia. In slide after slide, so far he sounds like, oh, maybe he's like a really, he just really wants to help people. Let's continue and see if that holds up. In slide after slide, he laid out his vision with colorful graphics and even maps, covering all aspects of vaccination system, from scheduling to staffing to safety protocols. The marketing plan hinged on inoculating local celebrities like rapper Meek Mill, a Philadelphia native, in order to attract his fan base. This is a wholly Elon Musk shooting for the heavens type of thing, Doroshin said. We're going to have a preemptive strike on vaccines and basically beat everybody in Philadelphia to it. That's the attitude about vaccinating. We're going to kick everybody's ass. Elon Musk style.
No matter what.
Yeah, already this guy worships Elon Musk for sure. Doroshin described scaling up until they were managing 5 mass vaccination sites and 20 smaller sites scattered throughout the city. He claimed they could vaccinate between 500,000 and 1.5 million people. That's quite a range.
It is quite.
That's the range of a fucking egomaniacal Elon Musk wannabe. We're also going to do it on Mars. We're going to vaccinate Mars itself. And they would make a lot of money doing it. This is where the turn comes in. This is the juicy slide, said Doroshin, clicking over to the financing plan. How are we going to get paid? He explained that the vaccine doses were free, provided by the federal government. But Philly Fighting COVID could bill insurance companies $24 a dose for administering it. I just told you how many vaccines we want to do. You can do the math in your head. A month later, Doroshin made, I don't know how to pronounce his name, I'm just going to keep saying Doroshin, made a similar presentation, complete with colorful maps and a $2.7 million projected budget to the Philadelphia City Council. He said his team at Philly Fighting COVID had begun submitting plans for building out 5 high-capacity sites that could each take up 10,000 patients a day. It sounds like he's got like Biden aspirations here. 100 million folks in 100 days.
I still hear that number is too small.
It is too small, and he won't reach it. That's my prediction. We've vaccinated 2% of the adult populace. Gonna get more into that in a minute, but this Doroshin guy, I just got to read a little bit more. Sorry. Well, what do you think of this wonderful young man so far?
He's awful.
Think he's got everyone's best interests in mind?
No way.
Yeah, like the real turd is when he's like, how are we going to get paid? $24 a shot, yo. Do the math in your head. Philly Fighting COVID's promise of efficiently vaccinating the population was an alluring one as city leaders were desperate to pull out of the pandemic. Just as an aside, I saw someone commenting on this story and they mentioned the fact that like there are so many like trained health professionals and physicians that could have all handled this a billion times better, yet they went with some fucking frat bro who's 22, has zero.
What's his family connection?
He's never even had a job of any kind. He's just a student. Why did they give this guy so much vaccine? Well, we haven't even gotten to that. Huh?
Maybe they didn't have to pay him. Maybe he's doing it as his university gig.
Well, they're not supposed to pay any. Like, this is all supposed to be like volunteer work, really, right?
Maybe that's the problem. You get what you pay for in this capitalist society.
I guess, yeah. But I mean, the thing is he's scamming some insurance company, right?
Yeah.
I don't even know if it's a scam. Like, maybe he's in his legal rights to do that. I'm not even sure, honestly. It doesn't seem like it should be, but shit, where was I? Okay, so the city council is like, please, we'll take anybody. Like, just get it done. Duroshin told NBC's Today Show, ooh, he's a celebrity now, that his company didn't think like a traditional medical institution. Oh, cool. That's what I want from my medical institution. Quote, we're engineers. We're scientists, computer scientists. We're cybersecurity nerds. We think a little differently than people in healthcare do. We took the entire model and just threw it out the window, Duroshin added. We said to hell with all that. We're going to go completely build on a new model that is based on a factory. By January 9th, Duroshin had a deal with the Philadelphia Department of Public Health and its mayor. The city never signed a formal contract with him or gave the organization any money, but it did provide its unofficial sanction and publicity. Most importantly, the city turned over part of its vaccine allotment to the group and helped it find recipients by sharing lists of residents who were newly eligible for the vaccine. The city relied on the fact that Philly Fighting COVID had registered as a vaccine provider with the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. So just anybody can sign up, apparently.
Yeah, it seems that way.
Thanks, CDC, you bunch of fucking morons. On January 8th, Duroshin and Kenny stood side by side at a press conference to kick off the first mass vaccination clinic. It was targeted at healthcare workers not affiliated with major hospitals, such as home health aides or doctors, nurses, or therapists in private practice. What you see here is the problem that we've been solving for 6 months, Duroshin told reporters. This is the problem of vaccinating an entire population of people on a scale that has never been seen before in the history of our species. This guy has his head so far up his own ass. Kenny was also... Who's Kenny? His partner in all of this, I guess? I missed how he was introduced, or she, I don't even know. Was also hopeful that the arrangement could help diversify the racial breakdown of vaccine recipients. Oh, Kenny is the mayor. Yeah, I think. Yeah, that's the mayor of Philly. At that point, only 12% of vaccinated Philadelphians were black in a city where 44% of residents are black. Equitable distribution of this vaccine is extremely important to our entire administration, Kenny said. But in the early sign of trouble, Philly Fighting COVID failed to verify its progress on the equity goal. After the first vaccine event, at which 2,500 doses were administered, City Council President Darrell Clark requested the demographic breakdown of the recipients, but the health department told him that Philly Fighting COVID had somehow lost all of the racial and ethnic data for the patients. The group was blaming a glitch in the Amazon cloud.
Of course they were.
Still, the city continued to turn over thousands of vaccine doses to Philly Fighting COVID. I'm going to stop saying Philly Fighting COVID and just say to this douchey kid. As the startup continued to hold clinics, some group, acronym WHYY, began investigating the organization and its founder. The reporters uncovered other serious problems and soon became clear that the group's logistical strengths and self-promotional flair, which had once made the startup seem so compelling, weren't working. Fancy that. A 22-year-old guy who worships Elon Musk and his PowerPoint weren't all that honest. Jesus, these people suck.
Can't imagine.
So here we get some more juicy stuff, I guess. So they're being investigated by an outside institution. So very importantly, right before they started doing all the vaccination work, they reorganized and became a for-profit company called Vax Populi. So right, like on the eve of their like, okay, time to start vaccinating people. Oh, now we're for-profit and we changed our name.
Vax Populi.
22-year-old douchebag had spent months organizing city funding testing events at which residents reported good experiences. But in January, it abruptly shuttered those operations, leaving partner organizations in the lurch. The group posted this decision on social media just a few days after the convention center kickoff. So they're a few days into this shit, and they're already like just packing up and like taking the money and running, basically.
Of course they are.
Yeah, he had, so it says just a few days after the convention, at which Doroshin had promised to open 2 new testing sites and to start offering free rapid testing. But instead, they closed a bunch of places and ran away. Several groups that had been partnering with them on testing events claimed they received little or no notice, jeopardizing plans for testing in communities of color. They completely ghosted us, said Sean James, pastor of Salt and Light Church in Southwest Philadelphia, which had been planning a series of pop-up testing events. Michael Brown had been working with the group to organize a testing event on Martin Luther King Day. He said Doroshin told his group that testing wasn't important anymore. Hey, man, that shit ain't important anymore. You know what I mean? You know what I mean, brother? I just get a feeling that this white douche like calls black people brother. I don't know. The statement he made was very clear. I don't believe that testing is relevant anymore. People don't follow the instructions. People don't do what they're supposed to do. And all it does is cause panic. Real sudden change of heart in this philanthropist kid. Doroshin, douchebag, made it clear that he wasn't that concerned about standard clinical protocols. Employees with more clinical experience than him said he brushed off technical questions as bothersome and approached the vaccination effort as if he were a tech mogul focused on disrupting norms. That's exactly what he's been doing. Oh, man. Stop using best practices, Doroshin said during a recent interview with Health Day. I think the old best practices in healthcare, in terms of intramuscular injections, were written for a hospital visit that would take 30 minutes, that you needed to do a bill for as a provider visit. Those best practices can mostly go out the window. Is he saying that intramuscular injections are like, that's old school, man? Like, what's your alternative? To have them fucking snort the shit?
Yeah, I think so.
Hey, freebase this vaccine, all right? It's going to do you right. It goes on and on. I mean, there's another thing where, like, he literally... Here we go. One of the workers saw Doroshin grab a handful of vaccines and stuff them in his bag along with the corresponding CDC vaccination record cards. So he was just like giving out, he was like literally vaccinating his girlfriend and his friends and stuff at home. After he like kind of just jumped ship completely on this whole thing. So anyway, that's just, I mean, it's a small example, but like, this is essentially how, this is the level that a lot of cities and states are at when it comes to distributing the vaccine right now. It's bad news, folks.
It is. Terrible news. It's
like... Yeah, go on.
No, I was just thinking that everything just feels so fucked to me.
Well, I'm about to pile on there. Sorry.
No, I know. I expect it from you.
Hey.
I expect losing my faith in humanity every week.
Twice a week.
Twice a week. The way God intended.
Mm-hmm. Oh, also God is dead, and we have killed him.
Well, I knew that.
With corona mutations. Yeah. Well, you think you sent me this story. Or, I mean, I knew about but you sent me this link about the mutations. Right? Yeah. The LA Times one. Do you want to, like, break it down for us? So, like, there's incompetence, and then there's also,
So the mutations on coronavirus, what's happening right now is it is mutating because viruses do that, but it seems that some of the new variants are becoming resistant to the vaccine. That's my general breakdown, which makes people worry about the efficiency of the vaccine. They haven't even figured out how long the vaccine is efficient for. Anyway. But
yeah. And, like, again, like, something that I feel, and, you know, this started, like, I don't know, like a month or two ago when I was, like, when I couldn't believe that the vaccines they're not prophylactic, they're just therapeutic. Meaning that so, like, okay, a real world example. Some guy in the government, I already forgot his name. He got his two, I forget if he's like a senator, congressman, or whatever the fuck, but he got the 2 Pfizer injections. So it wasn't like, oh, he only got the 1. No, he got both, like you're supposed to get at the right time. And he just tested positive for COVID. So, like, point is that like some people are getting mad because, like, they're being told because of this. Yeah, just because you have been vaccinated doesn't mean you can stop wearing a mask. Like, you can still spread it to people, and you can still contract it. I mean, the difference is that, yes, it does. The clinical trials have shown that, like, it will save your life, essentially. Like, you won't get the truly damaging effects of the virus. That's what these vaccines are effective at. But, like, the idea that it's going to stop the spread, and, like, so then maybe someone would counter with, like, well, but in a populace where everyone's vaccinated, then it doesn't matter if it keeps spreading, right? Because, like, what really matters is that it will stop people from dying and having, like, these negative health effects.
Right.
But in what fantasy world is the entire, like, 330 million people in the United States going to be vaccinated? I mean, like, and the thing is, it's, even if we got that done in a year, when you factor in all these variants that are, like, way more resistant to the current vaccines, I mean, you're like it's not, it's like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a fucking metaphor or analogy. It'd be like, I don't know, I'm picturing, like, a Looney Tunes scenario where, like, someone is, like, running along a fucking tightrope, but that tightrope is, like, burning, and it's just, like, burning behind you, like, as you're running away from it. Something like that. Like, it's not like you can ask the virus to please chill out and stop mutating while we try to get everyone vaccinated. That's my point. So I don't know. There's so many factors that make me feel like, I mean, so I'll just say, I was listening to the podcast, The West Wing thing. And one of their hosts, Dave Anthony. I like that guy a lot. He's also host of The Dollop. He's the one who made me look up this fact that so many medical workers are refusing to take vaccines that they're being offered. So, I mean, there are situations where even medical workers are not even being offered the vaccine for other like fucked up reasons. But in Los Angeles, I guess, which is where he lives as well. But I found the article corroborating what he said. Like 40% of like all medical workers in LA refuse to take the vaccine. And I mean, you know, second largest country in the United States, huge COVID problem in California. Then there was another study that the number they came up with nationwide was 15% of all medical workers nationwide say they will refuse to take the vaccine. So if even the fucking doctors and EMT people and et cetera aren't all going to be vaccinated, what chance do we, I don't know. It just, and then on top of that, it didn't even ever dawn on me until recently that the two approved vaccines in the US, the Moderna and the Pfizer ones, anyone younger than 16 can't legally be given them because there's like very little testing data on children getting the vaccines. So then that's like another huge chunk of the populace walking around like with the fucking virus. I don't know. I mean, just putting all of our hopes in the vaccine, which is what like all of the Biden zealots are doing, is just so irrational.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane. Like, I don't understand why the I mean, I'm glad there's a vaccine, and I think it is going to help over time, but I think people think it's going to like just kick in instantly, and that's just not how it works. Like, I mean, over time, the vaccine's going to be good for everyone. I'm
not anti-vaccine. I'm just saying, like, there are all these other like factors to consider that are going to prevent it from. It only really is effective if you can, like, the scientists have crunched the numbers, right? It's like at this point, it's like 80% of all people in the United States need to be vaccinated for like herd immunity to really kick in. And that number has been rising and rising. At first they were saying like 60%, 65, 70. And then now it's at around like 80 is like basically the consensus. Even Fauci, who I've just realized we don't have enough time to really go off on the articles I have about him. I'm gonna have to like save them for another show again. But yeah. Even Fauci's been like, you know, changing those numbers as well, pushing them up. Which, yeah, it's just it's more and more of a daunting task. And I mean, Joe Biden can't even get us fucking $2,000 checks. You think he's going to vaccinate 100 million people in 100 days?
I don't think there's any possible way that he does.
Which is also, like you pointed out, still not good enough if we really want to try to keep up with this thing, considering all the factors we just talked about. Yeah, beneath my Fauci is shit note, I also have a Cuomo is shit note, which I think we could sum up that quickly enough.
Cuomo's a shit? I thought Camus was one of the good guys.
Yes, he did write The Plague and all of that, all those good books, The Stranger. And I'm a Hero in the COVID era. Yes, Albert Camus. No, Cuomo, Andrew Cuomo. Wait, right? Yes. What's his brother's name? His brother's the news guy. Mario? Whatever. Yeah. Andrew Cuomo is the fucking governor of New York. And he's like finally getting into some shit for his like outrageous, not even outrageous is such the wrong word, his fucking murderous behavior. So like basically all of the people who work in the New York State Health Department, not all of them, but like a lot of top people are just resigning because of him. Let's see. Headline here: 9 top New York State health officials have quit as Cuomo scorns expertise. When I talk about some of this, I would like people to just imagine that in place of Andrew Cuomo is Donald Trump, and see if it sounds much different from the way Donald Trump
also
talked
scorned
about
expertise.
Yeah.
So he basically said, I was reading through this. Camus, as I like to call him. Albert Camus, the mayor of New York.
Governor.
The mayor of New York. The burgomaster of New York. The burgermeister of New York City. New York State, I mean. The burgermeister. The Duke. The Duke of New York. There we go.
Got it.
Was courting a Bridgerton girl. Wait. Sorry. I got mixed up. He basically said, these plans that we've had in action, they're not going to work. They don't know how to make a large-scale operation work. I know how to make large-scale operations work, so I'm going to do it my way. I'm going to make a large-scale operation. We're going to do it like a fucking concert. We're going to have lines. We're going to have orderly stuff. Everyone's going to go to big hospitals. We're going to cut out all this small man stuff that they have in the original plans, because that's not going to work. And there's no reason to trust these people. I sure don't trust them. I know how to do this. They do not know how to do this. That's what I gathered from the article.
Yeah, he's totally arrogant. He's been like that since day one. But the sort of the thing he might actually be in trouble for, the thing he could possibly lose his job over, definitely should. Like, that would be the least I think he deserves. I mean, he should be in fucking jail. Like, he knowingly sent COVID positive people into nursing homes, and tons of people died because of that action. Like, it is like is a fact. Yeah. And so there's like a couple of headlines, all just like flowing out like all at once about him. So there's like what you just said, him like just being this arrogant ass. Like the big quote from him about these people that work within the health department. He said, when I say experts in air quotes, it sounds like I'm saying I don't really trust the experts, Mr. Cuomo said at a news conference on Friday, referring to scientific expertise at all levels of government during the pandemic. Because I don't. I hate this motherfucker so much.
Sounds exactly like Donald Trump.
Yeah, he's like, I mean, okay, and the other, then like the third thing is here's the headline. I'll just read it, the headline, and you might say, oh well, it's a little out of context. Not really. Cuomo callously addresses COVID nursing home report. Who cares? Quote unquote. Did you know about this one? Did you hear about this?
No, I didn't hear about it.
Oh, did you? You can actually.
Well,
listen
no,
to
I
him
think
say it.
Was it the one where he's just talking about most people die in a nursing home?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have.
Here's what he said. We don't have to play it, but I'm just gonna. This is a short article. Well, it's actually not that short, but we don't. Anyway, who cares if they died in the hospital, died in a nursing home? They died. And I'm really not like changing the tone of his voice that much, because I did watch the video. That's how Governor Cuomo callously responded Friday to the damning state attorney general's report that revealed. So this is the big thing. There's a report from the attorney general saying his administration downplayed the total number of nursing home residents killed by COVID-19. It's more than that. He caused it to happen. And yes, he's also covering up what he did by downplaying. That's a polite way of saying lied about. During his first remarks on the spiraling controversy, Cuomo said, "If you look at New York State, we have a lower percentage of deaths in nursing homes than other states. Hey, I'm lower percentage in over here. A third of all deaths in this nation are from nursing homes." He's just like, this is just like the cop talking about the little girl getting fucking pepper sprayed. He's just like, "Yay, look over here. Look over at this thing. Don't look at me." He's just literally...
All eyes off me. Distraction.
Literally bringing up shit that has nothing to do with anything. It's like, it doesn't... He goes on to say, "New York State, we're only about 28%. Only, but we're below the national average in number of deaths in nursing homes." See, the thing is, though, the question is not about the state's total deaths or if it's above or below average. It's about him ignoring like common sense and just literally forcing people into nursing homes who are going to spread the fucking disease. Because at the time, no one was really taking it that seriously, even though he knew how serious it was. He's a fucking governor who was clued in just like everybody else in the government. But who cares? 33, 29, died in the hospital. He's talking about percentage. Died in the hospital, died in a nursing home. They died. Cuomo's stunning remarks sparked a furious backlash. And then they go on to just like show a bunch of tweets from people who are pissed off, which is like, yeah, journalism today. And there's more numbers, but I mean, like, I don't know. We've talked about this before, so there's no sense in getting deep into it. And also, we got to wrap up soon. So I hope he goes to jail. He won't. I hope he loses his job. He won't. But I hope so. He's really an awful person. Truly terrible. Like, it's so amazing to me that him, like Fauci, like this messiah worship of these guys by the hashtag resistance shit libs side of things. It's just, it's mind boggling. And then remember he got the Emmy for his TV appearances. Like, it's like he occasionally came out and gave a canned speech. Like, what a hero. But then there's all these other times where he comes out to like do a press conference and he's just totally combative with everybody, just like Trump. Like, him and Trump are exactly the fucking same in that way. They're these fucking spoiled New York douches who think they're right about everything. But no, we wanted him to take out Trump. Anybody but Trump. And I mean, there's so many things the Biden administration has still not done that they said they were going to do on day one. Of course, one of the big ones, which I don't think we've talked about at all on the podcast, is he said, I've got it right here. So there's this shout out to this Twitter account, which is at Waiting on Biden, called Has Biden Done Anything Yet? Today's the every day they update it. Today's the 13th day that Biden has not canceled Trump's tax breaks for the billionaires and large companies or large corporations. And it shows a picture of a tweet that Joe Biden made. Ooh, even way back in June of 2019. Oh, Jesus. People were running for president then still. It's crazy. He wrote, someone wrote, "It's time to reward work, not just wealth. On day one, I'll move to eliminate Trump tax cut for super wealthy, cut the unjustified loopholes in our tax code, and use that money to invest in America's future." It does, to be fair, it does say on day one, I will move to, but he hasn't even moved to do anything. Like, anyway, that's just one among, like, you know, probably a dozen or so things that he hasn't done.
Like checks.
Oh, man, this montage of them talking about the checks, it makes me insane. I think I'll just play it as our cold open today.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe. With some, like, weird music underneath it or something. Just let's end on one. I mean, so, you know, obviously one of our themes here is kind of how little things seem to be changing for the better. Some things are changing for the worse, maybe. So, you know, nothing has slowed down in our violation of human decency and human rights around the world since Biden has taken over. And one might say, oh, but he's just one man. He can't stop the military from doing. Yes, he can. He can literally pull troops out of places if he wants to. But the Taliban has some moral high ground here compared to the United States. So this article is called "The U.S. quote bombarding civilians and houses in violation of deal." So there was a sort of deal, a landmark deal, if you will, made with the Taliban, between the Taliban and the U.S. military in Afghanistan.
To not bomb houses?
Yeah, to stop bombing shit, and then they would also stop bombing shit, etc. And apparently the Taliban has lived up to their side of the deal. The U.S., of course, has not. They are just terrorizing people.
The U.S. is not terrorist. We're fighting God's battle, dude.
Unlike the Taliban, who are strict atheists, don't think they're fighting God's battle. So, yeah, the U.S. military in recent months carried out airstrikes against Taliban fighters in defense of Afghan forces. Taliban spokesman said that they were fully committed to this whole agreement. However, I mean, it's basically like both sides are pointing fingers at each other. I don't know. It just, it's just one among many, many examples of foreign policy not shifting in any way for the better. Oh, and I guess even more recent than this story was just yesterday, the Biden administration sort of, I don't know, like as a collective or something. Maybe it was Blinken. I don't know, whoever. I think it was Blinken. But there was like a press release or something about like Iran is like weeks away from developing nuclear weapons, which is like the same fear-mongering headline we've been seeing since
2002.
Obama. Yeah, well, yeah, I guess way before Obama as well. But like, I don't know, maybe I don't remember all of that. Well, the fear-mongering was about the same about Iran, right? During the Bush era.
I think so.
Because it was like that was when the ideas started like forming in people's minds of like, oh fuck, they're moving on to Iran next. So yeah, that doesn't look good. They're also planning to bring back all of the disastrous sanctions against North Korea, which Trump oddly like had gotten rid of. Which, you know, of course, people were just saying, oh, that's Trump. Trump loves dictators, so that's why he loves Kim Jong-un. But it's like, it's not about loving Kim Jong-un. It's about caring about the people inside the country, making sure they don't starve to death. Anyway,
let's go on to recommendations.
Yeah. You got to go into work today, right? Like physically go.
Yeah, I'm teaching kids.
Dude, that's fucking bullshit. Fucking bullshit.
I've been doing it for 2 weeks now.
God.
I'm surprised you haven't had to yet. I thought all the
because the government hasn't changed anything. It's the same. It's still you still not supposed to have more than 5 people in a private meeting. So I don't know why it would be fine to pack 20 kids into a classroom. Yeah. But yeah, I've got a recommendation in mind. Do you?
I think so. You want to go first?
Sure.
Okay.
I am going to recommend a television series called Lodge 49. Have you heard of that one?
I have not.
It's kind of hard to explain, actually. It's well, I'll start with like the name right away. It made me think of the Thomas Pynchon book, Crying of Lot 49, and then I looked into it, and that's exactly what it's referencing. It's I've only read 2 Pynchon books, the shorter ones, none of the giant brick ones.
Not Gravity Rainbow?
No, I read Crying of Lot 49, and I read Inherent Vice as well. I still haven't gotten around to the big uns, but Crying of Lot 49 is a great book. I think that's one of his earlier ones. Anyway, I guess it was part of an inspiration for the TV show. Not like super overtly, but you can see like the overlap in some ways. But what is it about? The show is it's partially about like secret societies, I guess you could say, or not really like social clubs that might seem like secret societies, like the Masons, that kind of stuff. So like it's like those men's groups, you know, like from like the days of old, which I guess still exist that way. Which is weird.
Still exists.
But it's the show is also about characters that are like really struggling like within like a fucked up economy, which is, you know, very relevant to today. I think the show was like 2018, 2019. I don't think they're going to continue it for some reason, even though it's very good. But it just has some very realistic depictions of like trying to like get by in like a sinking economy. But it also has like all this kind of interesting like sort of philosophical ideas in it as well, but like not in an annoying way where like not in the kind of like Richard Linklater way of like, which I kind of like to some degree, like where like characters just sit at a coffee shop and like literally talk about philosophy. It's not like that. It's like stuff comes up in more like natural everyday language. But I'm not explaining it very well at all. And the summary here, I'll just read what AMC says about it. The series is a modern fable set in Long Beach, California, about a disarmingly optimistic local ex-surfer, Dud, played by Wyatt Russell, who's this actor I'd been seeing around the last few years. He's this actor, like, kind of longish blonde hair, and I remember thinking he's like pretty decent actor, and I just found out he's the son of Kurt Russell,
Oh, wow.
And once you find that out, you can't unsee it. Like it's like, oh, that's why he looks fucking familiar. But he's good. He's really good in it, and all the acting is good, and directing and all that stuff. Who's drifting after the death of his father and collapse of the family business. It's like he's kind of like the main character, I guess, of the show. And he ends up joining this fraternal order called the Order of the Lynx, hoping the lodge can put him on the path to recover the idyllic life he's lost. So it's got some kind of wacky, funny elements. Like, it is a comedy in a way. I mean, it's listed here as like a comedy drama. Also, it says mystery, philosophical fiction. I'm just looking at the Wikipedia page. The music is really good. I like just kind of the overall vibe of the show. It's in some ways it sort of reminds you of say Big Lebowski or Inherent Vice, where like the main protagonists are these kind of like stoned losers. Except this character doesn't really even smoke pot, I think, at all. He just likes to sip whiskey and hang out in the donut shop with his friend. Anyway, it's a good show, and I should stop rambling about it now. Just watch it. It's good. It's very fun and good and right and true. Sorry, I went on so long.
I recommend Snake Plissken and watch Escape from New York and Escape from L.A. starring Kurt Russell. Because I love those movies.
I'm very ashamed to say I've still never seen either of them.
Well, you should, because all the old John Carpenter movies are some of the greatest ever made, along with some of the best music in movies.
He does make some good synth music, that's for sure.
So, yeah, Snake Plissken. That's my recommendation. Watch the Escape movies; they're good.
Cool. New York is better than LA, right? Is that the standard feeling?
I think New York's better than LA.
LA is the sequel, right?
It is.
Okay. Cool. I should download it right now. I mean, watch it legally on my preferred streaming service.
And if you're watching classic Kurt Russell movies, The Thing is always great.
True. I second that.
But I'm not going to go too far into these movies because I think they're all pretty well known.
Captain Ron. That's my rec.
You know, he's also Elvis in the Elvis Presley TV show.
I didn't know that.
The made-for-TV movie.
Is that from the 90s or something?
Oh, I think it's from the 70s.
Oh. Shit. All right, well.
I'm not from the 70s. Thank God.
Good note to end on.
Well,
all right, I'll see you later.
We burn in eternal sunshine.
Better note to end on. All right. Oh, wait. Fuck. Goddamn. All right. We are at Heat Death Pod on Twitter. We have a website called heatdeathpod.com. Those are probably the two best places if you want to find more stuff. Send us messages. Tell us you hate us. Tell us you love us. Tell us we're meh.
Yeah. Anything.
Or whatever. Share your stories.
Anything
your
you
opinions.
Want to say. We'll listen.
And we'll probably read them. Unless they're really terrible. So that's how you'll find out if your work is good or not. Yep. Anyway, time to go.
Goodbye. See you later, Josh.
The parasites are excited when you're dead. Eyes bulging, entering your head, and all your thoughts, they run. Got them sitting to gamble when you're dead. Beams of light, one is Sprite, the other's bourbon instead. And all your thoughts, they run. they won't let us in on. And all your thoughts, yeah, they rock. Are excited when you're dead, eyes bulging, entering your head, and all your thoughts, yeah, they rot. God's in the gamble when you're dead. Beams of light, one sprite, the other's bourbon instead, and all your thoughts, yeah, they rot. It was hot and time was sticking to my skin. We're all the punchline to a joke that they won't let us in on. And all your thoughts, yeah, they rot.
The first voice recording was made in 1860. It was a 10-second fragment of the French folk song Au clair de la lune recorded by inventor Edward Leon Scott de Martinville. But who will make the final voice recording and when? What will it be? Who will hear it?